YouTube, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me turn this up, actually. There you go. You guys mentioned if it's not like turned up to 1,000,000, it's not loud enough. Yeah, today I'm just going to be jamming out, doing some sketching. We're going to have Nick on, but he couldn't make it. He had some work obligations come up, so we're going to reschedule for that, that stream. It'll happen again pretty soon. I do have Joe or Johannes. Let's see, actually, let me see your name. Yeah, Johan. Okay. Awesome. Well, if you're not familiar with Joe, he's been handling and helping us with all the questions. So if you guys are in the chat and you have questions, he's the one that's he's able to handle that and helping us out. So big thank you to him. And yeah, so he's going to be jamming out. We're just going to be hanging out. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'm still working on this piece. It's like actually been very therapeutic because it's quite opposite from what I've been doing on my other stuff. So it's been really nice to be able to just kind of go away and draw some Lost Boys stuff, because I'm slowly chipping away at building enough content to have a book. So yeah. Joe, where are you from? Mm. Yeah, I'm familiar. That's awesome. Yeah. I really like Germany. It was really beautiful. It was very green there. I was really surprised how green it is. Well, green in comparison to like the desert that I live in, which is California. It's very desert-like. Down here, San Diego, it's really quite dry. Awesome. Do you have family there? Is that why you're living there? Okay. Awesome. Oh, see, sorry, people aren't able to hear you. Can you talk now?
Hello,
There we
hello.
go. Sorry about that,
Do you hear
guys.
me, guys?
Yeah, have an auxiliary. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm in the mode. But yeah, so you were saying that you live out in Germany, and you have your job out there, which is cool. So yeah, and what do you do at your job?
I'm like an interface designer, and I work like at a software company who works for like the car industry,
Oh,
for
okay.
automotive. And so I do lots of car UI stuff.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Do you enjoy that kind of work?
Yeah, right now I still enjoy it. It's sometimes challenging because, yeah, it's been changing a lot, lots of things. But right now I'm still fine with that, and it's okay. I'm learning so much new stuff, and yeah.
Are you what are you learning right now that's making you excited?
So as I was studying, I was little projects, so and you made everything like how you wanted. And now there's like a big workflow, so we make like the UI for like widgets end up in the car. So we have to like paint like every screen, and so we have to have really good workflow. And if we change like the shape of a button, we have to like change like 200 Photoshop files. So we have to think before we do anything. And yeah,
Which is good. Yeah, which
yeah,
is what it's supposed to be. Actually, when I went out to Berlin, and I was working with a shop out there that was for BMW, and was helping design the future
yeah,
interfaces of like the clusters and stuff. I thought that was really fun. It was a really interesting
yeah,
job. Yeah, it's completely different from like the stuff I do for movies, because a lot of that stuff is just really, it's just make believe, and it's more for fun. It's not really useful. It's mostly just to kind of immerse people in the story and to keep them kind of in that world and matching the style of that world, kind of like you would with a car.
yeah,
If you have like a very masculine angular car, you don't put a bunch of like round things all over it, because it just makes it more feminine. So it's just design
yeah,
sensibilities.
exactly.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun though. I had a lot of fun with that. So some questions coming in. Can you talk more about the business side of taking on a project as a freelancer? I'm finishing school next year, and I want to become a freelancer, but I don't know much about the business aspect of things and what I should really expect. Would really appreciate any advice. Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I'll make a new file and we'll do some notes today. We'll do some constructive work together today. So you're not freelance, right, Joe?
I know. I'm
Okay.
working at.
Business and freelance stuff. Again, this is something that we've been working on at the school, slowly but surely. It's quite a big endeavor, so bear with us because we want to make sure it's right. But business and school, so business of freelance. So with the freelance thing, it is quite complex. It's very dynamic. It's very inconsistent. It's all over the place. If you're looking to do freelance, let's see, freelance. Got a lag on my Cintiq. Sorry, and you guys have to deal with my handwriting. So, or maybe I can make something else. Actually, not. This will be fine.
I'm not sure. I don't see the screen. No, okay, now I see it.
Yeah, I usually keep it off Skype because it drags down the stream and it makes the stream lag. But if you watch it on the live stream, you can see it that way. So, can you see it?
I think.
Okay.
I think I have to reload my browser thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can add you to. Let's see if it works because sometimes it lags the stream down, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so business and freelance. So I think the key thing here is just talking about like what it is that you want to do and why you want to do it. So mostly for me, like the reason why I chose the freelance way is because many reasons, and I think the key thing for you if you're interested in doing freelance is to know exactly the things that you like. So I like working from home, so working from home. I like being close to my family. There's pros and cons to all these, and I'll talk about them in a minute here. I did this pretty large article at Motionographer that I'll send a link to as well about freelance and just like going out and making your own stuff. So let's see. So the next thing for freelance is I like to pick my jobs, my clients, and jobs. Let's see. Okay, so freelance stuff. Sorry, I'm just making sure everybody can hear everybody. So let's see. So project freelance. Okay, so the key things that I like to do when it comes to freelance is I like to be able to work from home. I like to spend time with my family. I like to be able to pick my clients and jobs. And then I also like the freedom. So if I want to like work really hard and save up a bunch of money, I can do so. And then I can take some time off and I could do whatever I want. I could go and travel. It just allows a lot of freedom. Freedom, it opens up a lot. And freedom's probably like one of the most important things. For me, I don't like working under like a direct boss and having somebody to reply to all the time, and that just kind of annoys me personally. I'd rather just do my own thing. And that's how I've been my entire life. Some people are fine with it. And I think it works really good for some people to be able to have like somebody to reply to and really work with it, but it's just not my thing. So these are some of the core like benefits and the things that I really, I call those pros, I guess. So for the cons and the things that you should be aware of is like, so let's just balance this off. So working from home, oftentimes, let's see, cons, I guess. So working from home, you have to be self-disciplined. So you just be able to self-maintain. That means you need to know how to manage your time. That's really important. That's an important part of it, the freelance side of it. And then Another con is with family time. I actually work more than I ever did working from home because it's here in my house, and I'm constantly like, oh, I can just go right into the office and send this one thing out, and then that one thing turns into more things that turn into more things. So, yeah, so it's just it becomes kind of cumbersome. So it's like family time, I guess. But for the most part, a lot of this comes down to setting priorities and stuff, and we'll get into that in a minute, I guess. Priorities. Hopefully, this doesn't make a big mess of everything. The thing with freelance, I think it's a pro being able to pick your client. The next thing is freedom. Freedom's really great. But the freedom, with like great freedom comes great responsibility, obviously. So that's a really kind of an important thing to really consider and think about in regards to just like, you can't just, take your time with certain things, or you can't just like take a client's money and just go off and do whatever. You have to respect that and have the discipline and set the priorities to do so. So I see like the pros and cons. One of the big other cons of freelance is like I could call them dry spells. Let's see, and I think the thing is you got to be cautious of these, and that's when you need to be able to be managing your money properly. So you might have a moment where like work isn't coming in. In my article, I talked about the idea, if you're going to decide to go freelance, you need to tell people around you, and then make sure they're okay with it. And then you have to also save up about like 3 to 6 months worth of income, because it will really help you preserve yourself just in case you hit a dry spell. And that way your bills are paid and you're not super stressed out. So before you do that, you would need to, calculate your finances, understand how much you cost per month. So cost per month. So you need to figure that out, and then times that by 3 or 6, and then you get whatever that number is. And that needs to be in the bank so that when you hit a dry spell, you can, you have a cushion basically. That's kind of one of the risky things. Another thing is health insurance. If you're in America, we don't really take care of one another here in this country as much as other countries. So health insurance costs a lot of money. Another thing that's going to cost you money is if you're going to have like an accountant. You can do a lot of the stuff that you do using like, there's a lot of online providers. I think Mache has one that he uses, but like TurboTax or something like that, I think works. But my wife and I, we have an accountant, and it doesn't cost a ton. Because I think depending on the scale of how much money we make, we pay him an increment of it. And how like many businesses, and the more money you make, the more you kind of try to figure out ways of saving it or preserving it or keeping it away from getting taxed. So it's a matter of just like, moving money around so that you have it in investments or different things. And you should probably just talk to a CPA, somebody that will be able to be your accountant and handle your income and help you with your taxes at the end of the year. Because for most creative people, we don't really want to be doing that stuff. That's kind of like a pain in the ass. So again, I apologize for my handwriting. I've never had good handwriting, and I never really cared because I figured we'd be typing things anyways eventually. So accountant's really important. And then you want to have some sort of legal counsel. So a lawyer would be good to consult. I had Jeffrey Rose on one of my podcasts. If you listen to, there's this podcast I've been doing for a while now. It's called The Collective Podcast. And I have Jeffrey Rose on there, and Jeffrey is great. He's really good at representing creative types and stuff, which I think would be really good for you. So I definitely suggest talking with Jeffrey or somebody like that if you can't find one, and then just look up somebody that interview them. It's okay to look up somebody in your local area and then go and meet with them and do a consultation and just feel it out. For most part, most lawyers are pretty blood sucking, kind of gross. So you got to be careful and just make sure that you know that they're out for your best interest and they're not going to just try to bleed you dry, because this can become very expensive. And the reason why you want a lawyer is for NDAs and anything like that too. Another cost expense that you need to be aware of, I'm just laying this out and being completely real with you guys, is the next thing is, let me move this stuff up here. The next thing that you want to be aware of is the cost of hardware and software. So, you know, programs, if you need to buy like a bigger, better computer, you can see in my office, I have like a ton of books and stuff. Also anything that's like you're subscribing to, like subscription-based systems. So if like you're subscribed to whatever, GoDaddy or whatever to produce your site or push it up, or Squarespace if that's where you're using like monthly subs, things like that. If you're subscribed to the Twitch stream, yeah, awesome. If you are, then that's, you know, all these little extra added costs and monthly subs are important. And Joe, if there's anything that comes up while I'm talking, feel free to just barge in and tell me. So yeah, don't feel like you don't have, and if you have questions too, or you wanted me to elaborate on anything, let me know. So but yeah, so I'm trying to remember everything. So if you're in America, you have health insurance. You have, you should get an accountant, which CPA or somebody to handle your taxes. You can do it online if you don't make a ton of money and you're slowly building up, like you mentioned. I forget the person who mentioned it in the stream. Let's see, Data Damon. Okay. So yeah, for coming out of school, you're probably not going to be making gobs of money at the beginning, and maybe you will. And if you do, that's awesome. But if you don't, it's actually a little bit better for you. It's less complicated, more money, more problems, you know. Another thing I would suggest you checking out is keeping a track of your hours and your time and stuff, and something to help you with managing your daily rate and budget and stuff is this application that I used to use. I don't really use it anymore. Harvest app. There's this app called Harvest. Get the Harvest. I'm going to send you guys a link in here, and I'll show it to you. It's great for documenting your time and your hours and all that stuff. And it helps you with like all kinds of stuff, like generating like all kinds of stuff. It helps you plan your time, your day, and how much money and accounts billable and all that kind of stuff. It's on your phone. You can document, you know, what clients you're working on when, and the hours and all that stuff, and to keep it really clean and clear. So this is an awesome app that I got from my friend Matt way back when. It's awesome though. I highly suggest it for any freelancer, especially new ones that are starting out. I kind of self-manage myself now, and my wife actually helps me with a lot of this other stuff too. So, which alleviates a lot of that stuff. Let's see. So health insurance, accountant. So if you have if you use Harvest, go ahead.
There was a question from Otto Halliwell. Are you an S Corp or are you a solo proprietor?
Yeah.
And what model syntax do you use?
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Okay, so I have multiple different companies, and one of the companies that I have, All Creative, is the one that all my freelance work comes through. So it's not me personally, because one of the things is you got to be cautious of is you don't want yourself to be represented personally, because when you sign these big contracts from people, they, let's say whatever, a big Hollywood studio or something will come, and if you, I don't know, something happens where somebody robs your house and steals your computer and leaks all your files or whatever, anything can happen. They could sue you personally, and they could take everything that you personally own, but you need to have a legal barrier. And so S Corp helps with that. At the same time, S Corp helps with tax purposes and stuff, but you have to be making a certain amount of money, I believe. And it's probably something I should have my wife come on and help us out with this, because those are other details and stuff. But, I personally have S Corps. I used to be a sole proprietor when I first started out. And for the person that was asking me about this in the beginning, you're probably going to be okay with being a sole proprietor, but I would suggest just biting the bullet. I think it costs like $2,000 or something like that to have a sole proprietor set up per year, I believe. But it helps. There's so many tax breaks and so many things that you can do that would help cut away a lot of that, that pain and stuff, because eventually you are going to, increase your funds and money and stuff. And so you're going to want to have that barrier. Again, I think it's really important legally to make a barrier between yourself and your clients, because they could literally sue you instead of attacking you personally and say taking your home or your car or whatever, everything that you own, making you bankrupt personally. What you could do is you can have a company shield you, and just think of it as a barrier, because anything can happen, and oftentimes bad things happen to good people. So it's a good barrier, basically. Cintiq model I use a Q7, I don't know, it's 27 QHD. That's it. Yeah. It's 27 inches. It's awesome. I love it. Use it for everything, designing and drawing and modeling and everything. So on my desk, this is something that we were going to do. One of these streams eventually is we're going to do where I need to figure out how to take this webcam off, but I was going to take you guys on a tour through my office. And one of the episodes is going to be like me breaking down some of the stuff I have and why I have it and some things to consider and stuff. So, yeah. Oh, sorry. It does cost only $800 a year to run as an S Corp. For some reason, I was thinking it was more. So thank you for that. I can't read your name because it's yellow. Oh, it's Mache. All right. Mache, change your color from yellow. I can't even read it. Mache, why don't you just come on the chat then? But yeah, it only costs $100. So yeah. Yeah, and Mache has it all. He's mentioning stuff in the chat. So yeah, that should sound good. So all right. So yeah, and then you need a lawyer. And to find a lawyer, I think it's really important that you just, you do some interviewing and you are very selective, because this is a very important thing. And you can ask around, ask people. You can ask me, you can ask, I've referred lawyers and I've referred people as well. This is something that's really important, though. I would suggest just reaching out and talking to people, other creatives. Just ask Facebook. A lot of times if I'm trying to find something, I'll just be like, hey, world, do you guys know a good, entertainment lawyer? They'll say, yeah. Somebody goes, well, my uncle, this and that. And then, maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, but you can at least ask the internet. That could be your barrier, because use the internet to help you. And then other stuff that's going to cost you money is hardware. I've spent so much money on computers and software and all that stuff this year. It's been crazy. And then monthly subscriptions, and whether you have a student loan or whatever, so if you want to be an artist, you need to have a student loan. You just have to be able to afford the cost of a Learn Squared class, and there you go. So you can learn all you need from one class, depending on what you're trying to do. So yeah,
there are coming more questions then.
Yeah.
One question is, who else having a coffee fee? I don't know if it's serious, but yeah. Another question is any advice on how to find freelance work? Are sites like Upwork or 99 Designs worthwhile for a new freelancer?
Yeah, advice on finding work. So finding work. I think the way that you should approach this is, let's use the analogy of a drought, for example. Everybody familiar with a drought? A drought's basically a place that it's to describe a place that's lacking water, or a seasonal change in the environment that it creates a lack of water. So I'd say say you have this landmass, right? It's let's just look at a square section of it. And before you'd have this much water, and now there's this much water. So it's a very finite amount. And what it's doing is bringing everybody into this area to drink. But little did they know is if they went outside of this and there's another bigger pool of water instead of going here. When you mentioned those sites and all that stuff, like 99 Design and all these other sites to try to get you more work, I've never really subscribed to those, to be completely honest. And the only reason is it's a watering hole for me personally, and I don't want to be grouped into that group. Really, I don't want to be lumped into that group. I'd rather go off and find my own place. And from my standpoint is I like to in order to find work, I don't really necessarily try to find work. I make work that I love. And through the process of doing this, this leads me into doing jobs that I love. And that's sure you're like, that's not good advice for everybody. And I understand that. And I appreciate your frustration if you're having a hard time finding work, because it isn't easy. But what I would say is, if you really want to find work and you want to manifest and make your own jobs, what I would suggest is you come up with a plan, whatever it is. You think about the companies or the shops or whatever that you want to work at. So make a list. And so, like, all the shops, shop A, shop B, or director or client or whatever it might be. You make a list of those companies. So you make your list, you make your plan, you make your list, and then then the next thing is you make the work that you love, whatever it might be. And then you take that work and the stuff you do, and then you send it out to these people, and then you just make a job. You make it. Before you know it, they'll be coming back to you, and you'll be creating this reciprocating situation where you're kind of going back and forth, and then they're wanting you to do the work that you love for them. This is how I do it. This is my plan. This is how I do it. It might not work for everybody, but the most important thing is you need to find the work that makes you happiest. So if you're really interested in drawing or whatever, or you're really interested in character design or design itself, or magazine editorial design, or user interface design, or whatever, there's a job for you, or there's a place for you in this world, because there's so many people out there. And if there's ever been a time in history for us to have like a completely open market, now is the time more than ever. So I would suggest maybe giving that a try. And I wouldn't go into these like watering holes. Like those things have a purpose and a reason, but be cautious, because all you'll become is you'll just become like a small part of a bigger wheel for the most part, unless that's what you want to do. So, but I would just be cautious of that, because those sites, I heard it once said pretty well, and it's really harsh, but it's the reality of it. And it was, I forget who said it, but it was like they were talking about social media and all these things that we spend a lot of time and are distracted with. For the most part, they're privately invested, very smart, designed pieces of content, or things that are basically there to take all your information and sell it to advertisers. So, and the same thing about those kind of sites and stuff too. So just be cautious of that. And so it's not necessarily the best place, I would think. So they're probably going to hate me for saying these things, but I'm just speaking my mind. And I think the best way to make what you want in this world is to manifest it yourself and make a plan and stick to it and make it happen. This step would take a lot longer, obviously, but it's kind of like I use Vitaly, for example. We're all quite familiar with him. Like Vitaly would work really hard, and then he would take time off and do a sabbatical, where he would then sharpen his sword, empty the cup, sharpen the sword, and then take that time away. And then he uses all those tools to then propel the work that he does for the next 3 to 5 years. And then he does it again and rebuilds. And I think that kind of mind state is the same way. It's having a plan, manifesting, doing the work that you love, and then the rest of the world will just reach out to you. Now he's got clients in Korea, and he's working with Intel and all kinds of different places. And I think that's really due to just him being able to have that plan and sticking to it too, and finding his own water hole, finding his own spot that will be a place that would provide nourishment for his career and what he wants to do. So long-winded answer, finding work, that's the way I would do it. And then if you really want to find an immediate job, then put your work out there, get it on Squarespace, make sure it's the best representation of the work that you really love. Don't show any work that you don't love, and then get those out to as many clients as possible. And be aware and be okay with the idea that you're going to fail, and a lot of people aren't going to reply to you. When I first made my jump, I made my plan, and I emailed, I don't know, thousands, not thousands. I made a list of about 200 different shops, and I emailed all of them my work, and I only heard back from 2 of them, and only one of them hired me. So that was Prologue. That was awesome because that's how I set up my whole career basically, and I took that advantage and I just went for it. So yeah, so that's finding work. That's how I would try it. So
So we're coming more questions. Yeah. How does owning a company affect you as a creative, and in reverse, how does being a creative influence the way you run your companies? I guess it's super stressful and ton of work.
Yeah, it is. Well, Maciej's in the chat, and he's my business partner. Him and Andrew are my business partners, so he can attest to it. Making Learn Squared was very it's very rewarding, obviously, but it's very taxing because it's just a lot of work. So, and that's a company that we run together. So, yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely it creates a lot more time and energy that you need to put into it, which is kind of hard to do. But at the same time, again, as I talked about that freedom part of it, with your freedom, this part right here. So if we want to have freedom, you have to go out and take that step, and you have to create your own company. So that's a really great question. I think one of the big things that it's done to affect me creatively is it allowed me to it makes me better. It honestly does. Because I'm very aware of my priorities. And oops, my thing is lagging. So priorities and my time. Because if you own your own company, time is money and money is time, and priorities and all that stuff, they all kind of go in together. And what this does is it makes me hyper I don't know what the word would be, like hyper maybe it's not hyper, it's like it allows me to be very prolific. Yeah. And so being hyper and like really able to like manifest and make everything that I really want, and it helps me to sharpen my skills and allows me to be a lot better. So I'm much more aware of it. The thing is it eats up a lot of time that I would rather be doing on other things. So it's mostly like, and it's really deceiving how much time it does take to run a company. And there's so many different details and stuff. I'd say with so let's see how many companies I've been a part of. So actually currently right now, the two companies that I'm a part of or I help run is Alt Creative, which is just literally me and my wife, and that's my freelance stuff, personal. And through this, I bring on like friends and people that I work with, Chris or Ryan or anybody if I need more help when it comes to like bigger productions of things. So that's one company. And then the other one is Learn Squared, so L2. And that's not my personal, that's with Maciej and Andrew. And so with these two alone keep me quite busy. And I have a couple other things, and I run everything basically through here. So like Lost Boy, LB will go through that, my game or games. Anything else goes through this, and it's kind of like this filtration device basically. So and just having all these and making sure I'm balancing my time between helping develop the schools, doing the streams, building classes, onboarding, all that kind of stuff with the guys. I mean, it's quite a long list, but it really eats up a lot of time. But I will say, for the most part, it just helps me be better at so many things in life. It makes me take things more serious, but at the same time allows me to really focus on certain things, and it really pushes me. It helps me develop as a creative and as a person entirely, and I think that's really something that I wouldn't change. I think sometimes it's really frustrating, but at the same time, I think it's just signs of growth at that point. It just shows that I'm learning in the progress of learning and stuff. So what was the other part of that question? Sorry, I was rambling on. Let's see. Your mic cut out, I think.
Yeah, okay. So right now.
Okay.
Our influence, yeah. And the reverse, how does being a creative influence the way you run your company?
Yeah. Okay. That's another thing. Good thing. I think being creative, I'm able to like manifest and visualize um, uh, the success. I'm able to like think of the product and manifest it. Manifest. So if like I'm thinking, okay, I want this certain thing to be like this, and so I can really use my creative ability to kind of project. I think Steve Jobs called it reality distortion device. I think is what it was that he would do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Reality distortion device. So I think like that's really something that's key is being able to shift your realities and be able to bend the things around you so that you can manifest and make something new. But at the same time, you can look forward into the future. I think being creative really helps because it allows me to be able to see far away and then project and then think about it, manifest it, and then change it. Learn squared is for the most part is as much as it is the nitty gritty of getting these things done. Learn squared for the most part is a lot of manifestations from us and thinking about what we want the future to be, what we want the future of art education to be. How do we want to get this information to you guys? How do we want to make these classes? And a lot of these things are all together. And in regards to all creative and my personal business, a lot of it's like, hey, I'm doing this kind of work right now, but I really want to do this kind of work. So how can I do that? And I just manifest and visualize. And that's part of being creative. I think is really a great tool. It's a very powerful tool to be able to use that, distorting reality, thinking about it. But I think you need to have a perfect balance between being able to visualize and distort reality, but at the same time manifest it, because ideas are cheap. Everybody has them. But the person that executes the ideas, I think that's where the value is. So it's a matter of having both of those, not just one or the other, but it's a matter of having both of those. And if you could wear your right brain and your left brain and you can combine them, if you could be, factual and also fictional at the same time, I think that's really where the powerful parts come in. And I think there's somebody, if you want to research some people that kind of are much more on the creative side, I would say like check out how Steve Jobs kind of helped build Apple and stuff. He is an interesting documentary or a biography, a book that I read that I thought was really good. And then there's also Richard Branson, who's a guy who's pretty successful and he's quite creative. And I would say Manish, the guy who created 5 Hour Energy, is pretty interesting. He's got like this interesting like approach to business and things I think is pretty cool too. So so I'd say check out those resources and think about like those kind of things when it comes to being better at being creative and having that affect your company and your business. Because I think for the most part, running a good business is mostly just common sense. And the other part of it is just, manifesting what it is that you want to do. And that has really helped me personally. I can't speak on behalf of Mache and Andrew, but that's it for me pretty much. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I found out bigger studios use Maya for 3D and Nuke for compositing.
Yeah.
Smaller studios and freelancer use Cinema and After Effects. Do you think that Cinema and After Effects are enough?
Yeah, I think so. Personally, depends on what you're after, but I've seen incredible results coming out of Cinema and Cinema 4D and After Effects. For the most part, unless you're getting into those really next high level things, Maya is really incredible. I have nothing bad to say about it. I've never really used it, so I can't really speak on it, but I think with Cinema 4D it works really great. And I think it really depends, again, if you talk about your plan and stuff, a matter of like what your goals are. So if you want to work solo and you want to work by yourself, or you want to work in a small team, the reason why I think small teams and smaller groups use Cinema is because it is powerful and it's very fast and rapid to get those results that you want. And using After Effects isn't as complicated, I think, from what I found with Nuke. Nuke's also very expensive. I mean, After Effects is quite affordable now because you just buy it's like 30 or 40 bucks a month or something like that now. So I think those are tools, and sometimes it helps to know the tools that the pipeline which the company that you're trying to work for is using, and then use those tools to be able to get better at them. But Yeah, that's a common thing that I found too. And a lot of times when I'm working, like I'm talking with like MPC or somebody, when I'm sending files off, we have to export them so that they can put them in their pipeline. And usually it's typically Maya or 3D Studio Max. So neither of which I've really used. I've used 3D Studio Max a little bit, but Cinema 4D is so much more comfortable. And I'd say a person that's able to execute some pretty awesome things using Cinema 4D, Octane, and After Effects is Raoul Marx. So, and if you're not familiar with Raoul Marx's work, you probably have seen it before, but he does some really awesome work with Patrick Clare and Elastic. So this isn't just only his work, except for this one project, Semi-Permanent. And yeah, if you check this out, this is all done with him. And I think he didn't use path trace on this. I think this is direct lighting, I believe. So the renders are really didn't kill him. And I think he only had like 1 or 2 GPUs when he did this. But he's really clever in understanding, the approach. And rather than taking this long-winded route, we'll have to have him on a stream sometime. He's quite busy, pretty much always. But yeah, we should chat with him about this, because he's one of those people I think that is a perfect example of the newer version of like who's going to dominate the career, the industry. This is people like himself, who's a satellite that knows how to design, animate, do modeling, 3D animation, compositing, all that kind of stuff. So you should check out this work from Raoul, because again, Cinema 4D, Octane, and After Effects. From what I understand, that's completely what it is. And for the most part, it's just as good, if not better, than most stuff I've seen in movies. So it's definitely up to, I think it's, for the most part, I think the key is it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I think that's really the key, and understanding how to not only use the tools, but at the same time making the tools effective so that they work and make sense and they're manageable and stuff too. So, but yeah, I've seen incredible work from those. And I think I've seen work that's just on the same level. So, and I highly suggest checking them both out too. So, yeah, so that's the answer to that. What other questions do you guys got?
So my department, also Justin is asking, my department had time flattery, says a concept artist has to have vehicles, character, environment, and props in a portfolio. The thing is, I see people focusing on one thing, which is the best route or best way.
Yeah, so you're talking about, this is a common question too, whether you're like a master of, you're a jack of all trades or a master of none. And I think that's a good point. And I think, it's so difficult for me to answer these, because I have my own route. And for me, I'm more on I try to be more in this realm where it's like I'm doing a lot of different things rather than just sticking to one thing only. But I've seen people that do just one thing really great, and I think that's really awesome. I'm trying to think of somebody that does just like one thing, like one particular thing. I'd say like James Jean is a great example. Let's see, like James Jean has a specific style. He does mostly only illustration and digital coloring, from what I understand, and he does a lot of just pencil drawing. But let's go back to way back when he first started. It was mostly just drawing, and he would just constantly be drawing, but it was the same thing over and over. Like, you just know it's a James Jean piece because of the work that you see, because his style and the way that he's putting things together. So he also does painting. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I think he's an incredible artist, and like he's just amazing stuff. But I think the key here is like James just went off and did what he wanted to do, and he manifested it by working hard and putting the time and energy and on the focus of it. So there is definitely a place for people to just do that one style. Or H.R. Giger, for example. Like if you look at Giger's work, he's no longer with us, unfortunately. But so if you go to like Giger's work, for example, he only did one thing, and it was actually quite interesting when you watch him go off and try to do other things. It's like it never was, in my opinion, it was never as strong as his work on Alien. There's some pieces that were really awesome, and I don't want to take that from him. But when you look at some of his work, like he had a style and he stuck to that style, and it was like perfectly timed for his life to work on Alien, for example. Like it was perfect that like I forget his name, Dan O'Bannon, and had shown Ridley Scott the his concept art from the Neuromancer book, I think it was. But yeah, like he had a specific style. Like, can you imagine asking, H.R. Giger or Geiger? I don't know. Do you know how you pronounce his name?
I think Giger.
Giger? Okay, cool. I was saying it right. Awesome.
Yeah.
But can you imagine asking him to do a T-Mobile commercial or something, Like, why would you do that? So he definitely has a specific style, and he stuck to it, and he built a brand off of it. And it's definitely his thing. It became his manifestation. It was very erotic and sexual and interesting and very provocative. And, I think that the key here with this is like, if this is what you want to do, this is what you want to do. And I think the overlying thing that I can say, because it's really hard for me to give this kind of blanket feedback to anybody, it's like if that's what you want to do, or whatever you should be doing should be whatever you love doing. And like I said, another person I would say, it was like let's see, Edward Scissorhand director. Scissorhands. Tim Burton. Oh, that's why I can't. No, I'm drawing blank. Tim Burton. So if you look at Tim Burton's like early art, he's like an artist I always think about when it comes to style and design and just like overall like sensibility. Like his design and his art definitely has a style, but it's like if you look at this, and let's just go to like ArtStation, for example. This is where like a lot of the art on the online is existing and stuff. A lot of the art is awesome. It's really great. It's well executed. It's got a lot of really creative design and amazing execution and all that stuff. But where would Tim Burton's art fit on here? And I'm just want you to be like, think about this for a second. Where does Tim Burton's art on here? It doesn't go on the front page. Not in my opinion. I don't think so. There's much more like art that fits on here that's more refined and more appealing to the general populace. Not trying to say and take anything away from Tim Burton, because obviously he's built a legacy off of what he's created in his art, in his early art. Let's see, he has tons of style. It's hard to tell if it's his art or somebody else's here, because I mean, you can kind of tell the difference. Like this is Tim's early kind of art. The thing with Tim's art I think is important is like he has tremendous style and tremendous view and look at his own imagination. I think that's really the key. And I think that's the key difference between him and everybody else, really. And that's what allowed him to go off and do it. And from my standpoint, I'm not sure, I would love to talk with him. I'm not sure how like the things manifested and changed in his life, but I remember he was at college with John Lasseter and Brad Bird. John Lasseter's co-founder of Pixar and director of a bunch of different Pixar films. And then Brad Bird, as you know, he's the one that directed The Incredibles, which is, in my opinion, one of the best visual animated animations, basically, in the recent time. It's really incredible. So, literally. But what I'm getting at here is, where does this art fit on here? It doesn't really, and I think that's the key here, is to remember that, like, it's good to be you, and it's good to have your uniqueness, and I think it's really important that you go and celebrate your uniqueness in whatever form that is. You don't necessarily have to be a designer like me or as good as Mache is or somebody to succeed. You don't necessarily have to do like T-Mobile ads or Hallmark card covers or magazine covers. Think about asking Giger to do that. There's certainly so many bits of art, and what I'm saying is, you it wouldn't make sense to get like Tim Burton to do a T-Mobile ad, like that doesn't make sense. Why would you have him do that? Maybe, but his own style and his own voice allowed him to go off and find his own vision, and do his own thing. So I think this is really key. And the key here I'm trying to get at is, you don't necessarily have to be Raul. You don't have to be James Jean. You just be yourself and love what you do. And I think everything else kind of comes from that. And in the less time you focus on like what other people are doing and that water hole thing I was talking about, the less time you spend right here focusing on like, all the likes and all the, the things on Behance, like how many people appreciate your stuff. That's cool. That's awesome. It's always great to be appreciated. And that's, I'm not trying to say anything about that because I enjoy that too. But that's a distraction from what actually does matter. And what all that matters really is your work. That's from my opinion. It's your work and and doing work that you love. I think that's the key. Everything else, it comes second to this. All these things come second to this, except for family. But your family life balance. If you really love your work, it's important to have those both at the same level. Doing work that you love in your family does need to be as equal as you can. So, yeah. All right. What's the next question?
Yeah. Okay. How have you found success? What is the most rewarding aspect? What's your gain? I'd love to connect. I'd love to connect with social media. Yeah, someone. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So success. Success is. Thanks for being here. That's a great question. And my favorite parts of success is just. There's a certain feeling that you can only get from success that is really quite unique. I think this is really. It's hard to explain. It's like a euphoric feeling, sitting in the theater and watching the work on screen, and just that feeling of knowing how many people are appreciating this. There's different levels to it. I personally like those daily successes where it's like little goals, a little chipping away slowly at something, learning something new. But my favorite parts of success are definitely like just those little personal goals. If I set out a goal. One of my favorite things is accomplishing it. So like checking that off the box, basically. Having those daily successes or weekly are awesome. And those usually end up becoming a yearly goal. So those are something that's really big for me and personally for success. What was the other part of the question? I forgot.
He just likes to connect with you on social media, and I sent you in the chat.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean for.
There's the second part. What is the most rewarding aspect? What you gained from the success?
Oh, how have I found success too? Okay, great. So Joey, all right. So yeah. So I found success through finding what I love. So the key here is I know this sounds kind of like a hippie thing, but it's not. It's literally finding what stimulates you, what motivates you, what ignites you. You might be into, I don't know, whatever. Like you could be into like dinosaurs or something. I would be into cars or something. We're completely different, but at the same time, it's what you love and finding that bliss. I think that's the key. Success comes from finding that bliss and really opening it up and exploring it and finding out why, and discovering those. And a lot of times it'll change. So for me, I've found success from finding what I love internally. So I've gone inwards, inside, and I find what I love. And then I take what I love and then I go and put it back into the world. And I share it. Share. Yeah. So that's really the key for me. The most rewarding aspects that I've gained is just being able to just share that. I think that's one of the key things. That's what Learn Squared is to me. It's like sharing that love, sharing what I'm into, sharing what interests me, sharing the successes and also the failures, and talking with you guys and helping you guys. So yeah. And social media, honestly, like to be completely honest with everybody, I've had a lot of people like, hey, can you add me onto Facebook, or can you hit me up on this and that? And honestly, it's so overwhelming for me because there's just so much of that stuff that it would take me way more time and attention and energy from everything else that I just need to make sure I'm focusing on everything else that I currently have going on. So I'll do my best, but I'm not going to be able to add everybody, or I get a lot of requests like, can you share my link or my work or something like that? That's becomes super annoying for me. So don't ask me to advertise for your stuff too, so because I won't do it. But yeah, so that's pretty much that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's a great
Thanks.
question though. So, but Joey, I'll try and do my best. If you want, just hit me up directly or something. But probably the best way is to be here on these chats, because you're going to get a way better response from me, a much more dynamic response from being here on the actual stream, because I'll be much more dynamic. So yeah. All right, cool. What's the next question, if there is any, I guess? Let's see. I'm looking to see if you guys have any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat. Joe's having issues with the Skype connecting. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of things I've talked about here. Let me send you guys the link to the motionographer. I did quite a long kind of thesis on my basically going into freelance and, manifesting my own goals and stuff. Where did it go? Let's see, motionographer. Let's see. So if you go to motionographer, if you scroll down on the left-hand side, there's a picture of me holding a camera when we were shooting this one film. So I'll send you guys a link to this if you're interested at all in me elaborating on some of these topics. There's a lot of resources and tools that I use here that I talk about that might be good to check out. So definitely check that out. Let's see, going freelance. I talk about different books that are really helpful, and then I talk about more iron, more concrete. And the reason why I'm suggesting this is because I'm kind of randomly going all over the place in this. I apologize. So if you want a more direct response to a lot of these things, I would suggest checking this out too. So oh, cool. There's a lot of people talking in here. So awesome. And this is a great website too. Motionographer is awesome. If you're interested in design and motion and graphics and just the community like that, I would definitely check that out. Cool. How's your internet, Joe? It's messed up.
I hope it's back now. So
It's all good.
yeah, I don't know. Skype has problems. The stream was fine, but Skype was somehow.
Yeah, sometimes Skype backs up. I have another 10 or 15 minutes we can keep jamming out. If you guys have any specific questions, I'm going to go probably back to drawing some more Lost Boy stuff because I didn't get much time on it. And I think one thing I was going to say, go ahead.
There were some questions.
Oh, okay, there's more? Okay, let's do it.
Charles is asking, a lot of time I feel overwhelmed with all the technology software. I have to learn how to software. I have to learn how do you deal with that and how do you tackle learning all of it?
Oh yeah, that's a huge problem. I have that issue all the time because I look at people who I was talking about, idols of mine like Raul or Vitaly and all those guys, and how many pieces of software that they know and how they use all those different softwares. Same with Mache. Let me think about the list of all the softwares that I currently use. Let's see. Softwares. And I'll break down all the ones that I use, and then I think the key here is just to understand why and where and the goals. Again, everything comes back to this. So if you're having a hard time figuring out what program to use and why, I think the key is for you to go, okay, well, what do you love first and foremost? You got to come back up to talking about what you love, and then you need to make your plan, and your plan will then infer all the softwares that you use. So, for example, let me just start to think about it. So, Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, or Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere. Let's see, I'm just looking at my list. InDesign, Bridge, which is really easy, but I use it. Lightroom. Let's see. Premiere. All right, put that in there. So that's all the Adobe programs for the most part. I use Fusion 360 for modeling, hard surface. And then I use Cinema 4D basically for bringing everything into 3D. I use Octane. I also got Redshift, so I'm going to check that out. These are my renders. I'm going to start looking at V-Ray, maybe someday. Probably not. I'm just doing that for Mache. I use 3D Coat.
Someone was asking about Houdini, if you want to get into it.
I haven't. I'm too afraid to get into it because it's just too crazy. Unreal Engine 4. I'm going to start learning that for my game.
Nice.
Let's see. Moi 3D. This is primarily where Vitaly makes a lot of his hard surface modeling in. Start using Substance, Painter, and Designer. What other programs? Oh, ZBrush. And after I go through all this, I'm going to break down why and what I use for what. There's MindNode. What else is there? Feels like there's some other ones that I'm missing. I guess that's it. If there's something else coming up, I'll bring it up. It's a shit ton. It's tons of stuff, you know. It's so much to think about, and where do you start, right? I mean, there's just like so much stuff to think about and how to accomplish these different goals and make a pipeline that actually makes sense. And like it makes it so much more complicated, you know. And why can't it just be more simple? Sometimes I just love to just sit back and draw, you know, instead of having to do all these different programs. So the way I prioritize the programs that I learn is based on the freedom in which I want to have in my work and the amount of power that I want. So a lot of it's based on like power and freedom. What I mean by power and freedom is if I learn a new skill or trait, I level up basically. I become better than who I was before. And Mache will say too, which is really awesome. He's like, you know, we're constantly coaching one another to be better. And he's like, you know, constantly like giving me props because I'm constantly growing, climbing the ladder, you know, getting better, you know. And it's like, if I need to model something, I can do that. If I need to light, I need to render. If I need to do sketching, drawing, any of that, I want to be able to do all of it. And I think that comes back to basically right now, I'm just making my own pool by manifestation through the idea of manifestation and kind of doing what Vitaly was doing, as we talked about earlier. So the reason why I learn all these softwares is for power and freedom, and it helps me level up. So then I have new skills to do more jobs.
Where do you go? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
If you learn something new, what website do you visit? Like you going, or where do you watch tutorials?
For the most part, if I want to learn something, I watch Learn Squared stuff because the most part it's all there. So if I want to learn like After Effects or Cinema 4D or how Michael Wrigley does it, I'll watch his course. Or if I want to learn like great After Effects animation, I'll watch Jorge's. If there's a resource, if the classes don't provide enough. So like if, for example, I was watching Alex Vigini's class on ZBrush because that's when I was like, okay, it's time for me to really learn ZBrush. And anything that I couldn't find or had questions of, I almost always go to YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. YouTube basically has, you know, the problem with YouTube is it's like so vast and convoluted and crazy. It's really annoying because you might get one answer here, but then the other answer for something else is like in another video somewhere random. So, but for the most part, YouTube is where it's at, and or Google.
Yeah.
I haven't, although they're really great, I haven't watched a Gnomon DVD for a while. And I hear Schoolism's awesome. I hear School of Motion's really great too. I heard all these things. I just haven't had a chance to go into watching them. I have recently watched Schoolism, Dice, and Robert Kondo. They did a really great course on lighting and painting stuff and working at Pixar and stuff, that's on Schoolism. That was really great. I just watched it because I was curious and I wanted to learn some of the techniques that they were teaching. So it really depends, you know. For the most part, it's mainly Learn Squared and YouTube, though, is where I get almost all my information. And with the Learn Squared thing is like, it's not just one software or one like thing for the most part, unless it's a specific class. So it's mostly like the workflow. And like say for Michael Wrigley's like I'm using Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere, and all these different things, Cinema 4D, and I'm using X Particles and all these different Octane and all that stuff. So for me, it's like a complete package of a pipeline rather than just like one piece at a time, you know. So okay, so that's kind of where I go to get this stuff, the information, the knowledge, or the other thing is I just simply ask. I just ask people, hey, how did you do that?
Yeah.
How did you do that? And or ask friends that are better than me. I think Ollie Moss said it perfectly on Twitter the other day. He said that the key to success is surrounding yourself with people that make you dumb, make you feel dumb, not in a bad way, but it's like people that are better than you, and learning as much as you can from them, you know. And that's couldn't be more right, you know. It's like if you are constantly surrounding yourself with people better than you, you're eventually going to be better, you know. So if I would suggest that. I think it's good to have a good range. And I talked about that in relation to jiu-jitsu and the belt system and all that kind of stuff. So, so software, so looking at this list, and there's some that I'm forgetting, and there's other ones that I just don't even put in here, like Google Sheets and Google Docs and stuff like that. But here's the softwares that I frequently find myself using. And so the reason why I put all these on here is like there's different goals to these things. Like, you know, okay, like if I want to learn hard surface modeling based on what I've learned from Mache, I'm going to learn it through Fusion 360 or Moy. Cinema 4D is so big, like it's such a vast program and it's so huge and you could do so much with it that I'm slowly chipping away at it. Like right now I'm starting to learn how to do the UVs and modeling in it and stuff, and it's just like a slow process, and this one takes a long time. Bigger softwares take a longer time. Like I would say ZBrush is the same way. ZBrush is very nebulous and abstract. I'd say Houdini is probably like that next one, and that's the reason why I've held off from it, because I'm like, I'm okay with what I have now, and eventually I will, but I'm not right now, because there's other things that I'd rather do rather than just like play around in Houdini and make something weird. As much as I would love to, and I'm seeing some incredible stuff from amazing people using it, it's just like I'm afraid of it destroying my life. Octane and stuff, this was a top priority for me to learn Octane, because I was able to take the ideas that I had and then manifest them via Octane to help get my ideas across. So this was a really important priority. 3D Coat, I've been using it to learn not the modeling side of it. I think 3D Coat's incredible, actually. It's much easier to use than ZBrush, but I think it has a couple things that are just getting developed with it. But it's incredible for UVing, which is such a pain in the butt, but it's really actually great for UVing. So I'd suggest that's why I use it, mainly UVing and creating PBR. And for the reason why a lot of times I make PBR that I then translate to Octane and also to Unreal Engine for the game, but I translate it to Octane so I can make like an awesome procedural noise dirt kind of shader that would be kind of difficult to make inside of Octane, but I can make it quickly in 3D Coat. So 3D Coat PBR and UV is great. And UV. So what I'm saying here is I'm trying to make a path. So I want to go, okay, here I am here, and I want to go here. And to get here, there's all these stops in the road that I need to go to get to this bigger location. If I wanted to say I want to be able to just like make my own short film, for example, like completely myself, well, then I need to, you know, first have like my plan, and I need to have like all these different things, you know, my list of priorities, and I need to have all these things set up, and then I need to know what program I need to do for each step, and I need to have all those things basically. And for me, my goal is like I want to make something bigger. So I have to know how to like, you know, model, UV, make materials, lighting, animation, all of that stuff. And that takes all these programs in order for me to do that. And I'm trying to get there as fast as possible, but it's going to take all those different steps. So Unreal Engine, it's for games. And I mean, if you guys are thinking about the future is, I believe, is going to be in VR and AR, and a lot of it's going to be game engines. Game engines are going to be good enough to do real-time rendering, real-time interactive experience, and I think that's where things are. They're not in still images, it's not in Photoshop, it's not in that kind of stuff. There's still total merit there, but that's not the future. The future is in immersive experiences, in my perspective. Yeah, and Moi is basically like an extension of Fusion. So if I can't get what I want out of Fusion, I can go to Moi. Moi is basically like, I'm still on the fence of how much time I want to put into it because Fusion already is so awesome and it gives me everything I need. It's just not as fast. So, but to get fast in Moi, it takes a lot of time. So it's just like, the trade-off. So I'm kind of like 50-50 on that. Substance Painter, I'm thinking 3D Coat's getting me enough good PBR, but I know Substance Painter and Substance Designer is actually incredible. So it just, I find that the UVs have to be perfect, and that's just based on the mesh, and that gets really complicated too. So this all kind of ties back into the game. So there's multiple different goals that things are attaching to. And a lot of these things are based on like my next really big personal project that I'm building too, with a friend of mine. So, and that all these things kind of come together from there. And all these things also feed my client work. So it's like passion projects, my own personal projects, and then they all feed client work. So they all kind of come together. And then there's ZBrush, which is awesome for soft surface modeling kind of stuff, and all, I guess, hard surface too. But it's very complex for me to learn, and it drives me nuts. And then there's MindNode, which is very simple. I'd say I spend primarily most of my time nowadays. It used to be Photoshop. I spend most of my time in Cinema, Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere. I spend a lot of time in Premiere now. I spend a lot of time in Fusion. I spend a lot of time in Octane. Some decent time in 3D Coat, and yeah, it's mostly these primarily. So when it comes to knowing what softwares that you want to learn, you need to first find what you love, then make your plan as what you want to do with what you love, and then you need to find out what programs do what you need to do to make those happen. And then make a roadmap basically and write it all out and kind of figure out, okay, well, I need to learn Cinema 4D, and it becomes really big, and you should be cautious of like how long it does take to get better and learn these softwares and these programs and stuff, and reach out and use these resources like YouTube, Learn Squared, Google, or asking friends and people that are better than you, because that's how you're going to get better. It really is, and that's where it's at. So I do like one more question, I guess, and then we'll wrap it up, or two if there's
Yeah,
any.
okay. Yeah, there's a ton of questions. I think we have to save them for next time.
Yeah,
And so
we
people
do
have to
too.
come back next time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
So one question was from, I always butcher his name, but Sherokin, I think. He's asking, what do you think about the new Alien movie?
What do I think about the new Alien movie? Do you guys really want to know that? I have such strong opinions about things. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was Michael Fassbender is awesome. It was visually delicious. It was amazing, beautiful film. There was a lot of just incredible shots in there. There was a lot of just kind of cheesy moments, and there was just tons of holes in the plot, I felt, and it kind of ruined a lot of what I felt was really special about Alien itself in the beginning. So I felt it was a really interesting meld and mashup of Cameron's film and Ridley's first film, which I thought was interesting because it had the action and then also had like kind of the substance. But yeah, I don't know. I found it to be it was, what I will say, it was completely worth the money that it costed me to go to see it. And I have no problems with that. I no qualms with that. There's some films I saw this year that were despicable. I couldn't believe it. I won't even talk about those. I just get.
Yeah.
I can't. Making a film is incredibly challenging. It's amazing that they even get made, and a good film that comes around. It's like it's insane. It's hard to believe that it even happened. So, and hats off to everybody that worked on it because it was a beautiful film. So, I just felt like there was some just typical weird Hollywood story issues that just kind of got weird. I do like the idea, and I thought there were some really cool concepts, and I won't say any specifics because I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't seen it. I would highly suggest it if you're into Alien franchise or visuals or and sci-fi in general. You should go see it because it's really quite beautiful. But yeah, it's kind of forgettable for me personally. I would rather just go watch the original Alien. So yeah. But again, I'm very opinionated on these things. So, and I really want to be clear that I don't think less of anybody on these things. That's just my opinion. So, and I think that I'm jealous that I didn't work on it. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where like tons of questions which are really good, and I think like the answer will take like 30 minutes for some each. So I will save them for next time, and
awesome.
if a person is here, we can answer them.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can if there's I have enough time to do, let's see, one more if there is one that I can answer, but if not, then I won't be able to. So
okay,
if you want to save them.
Yeah, okay. One question is from Dustin. Is there something you've learned this past year that you had a misconception about that prevented you from picking up that skill at earlier? If so, what was it and how did you get around it?
Damn, that's a good question, Dustin. Can you put that in the chat so I can read it? It'll help me answer it, because I think that's a really quite a complex. Yeah, that's a quite complex answer to give you. Something that was a challenge. Let's see. Did you put it in the chat? Let's see.
Yes.
Is it up at the top there?
Yeah, it's like.
No, let's see
there's no. Maybe I don't know. Is Dustin Huxton called? Written together.
Yeah, I don't see it in the chat. Where is it, at the top or something?
Now it's like the last 10 minutes, I guess. And
in the chat window, chat window. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was thinking it was in the that one. Okay, I'll look for it there.
Yeah. I can send it to you.
If you could, that'd be great. It helps me to read it sometimes too. Okay, so is there something you've learned this past year that you had misconception about that prevented you from picking up that skill at earlier? If so, what was it, and how did you get around it? Yeah, honestly, that's a great question, and I think that really helps the person before you with the question that they had about the softwares and the different amount of softwares that you must learn or you should try to learn. Yeah, I think I'm having an issue right now between, let's say, 3D Coat and Substance, for example. They're both incredibly powerful, and they're both amazing. Both are great. And honestly, the pipeline that I'm learning from Anthony Burns and Raoul Marx, and then my own personal exploration of using YouTube and a lot of this seat time. What I was thinking I was going to have to do was, okay, make the model in Cinema or Fusion, and then go and bring it into 3D Coat to do the UVing. And so far, that's been working really well. The next stage I'm trying to figure out is like, do I then take that UV and model and bring it into Substance Painter or Designer, or to keep it in 3D Coat and I achieve the PBR and the look that I want? So that's really the discrepancy, and that's the issue I'm hitting, because right now I'm trying to think of, well, which one exports the best file to Octane? And so I'm trying to test that pipeline right now. And so these are finite details, it's like I'm building that path. But right now I was thinking I was going to go, okay, I'm just going to go straight to Substance. But I was finding that I was getting quite epic results out of 3D Coat and the PBR off of 3D Coat. And I was thinking that I might just stick with 3D Coat, and so that I don't add more complexity to my already quite busy life. And so that's kind of been, instead of picking up that skill, that's more of a program. In regards to skills, honestly, I've been trying to appeal and attract as much skill as possible from lighting, composition, texturing, all those things. So I haven't had anything that I have really necessarily dropped. One thing I'm constantly trying to keep in mind is a lot of these things are very technical. Learning these programs, basically I'm learning languages. And one of the key things is not forgetting how to be creative and to have fun and to be problem solving, and to remember that I am also an artist, that I can draw, and I have, I have the ability to draw, and the ability to be creative, and the ability to have fun and really enjoy that part of it. I think that's really the key, because it's so easy to get lost in a program and then go like, oh, now I'm going to render some spheres or something. It's like, well, what's the point in that? So I think the key is to remember like the goal and the plan and the love. I think those are the really key things. Keeping those in mind the whole time, reminding yourself of those goals. And I think that's why if you read that Motionographer article, you'll see that I talk about how passion projects, if I say like, let me grab some passion projects. so if I go to like, I'll just grab my site so I can show some of the passion projects. So Epoch, for example, just Chris and I made Epoch together, and we just wanted to make an awesome space film that was like a melding of design and space, and merging those two worlds, and work with Ben Lucas Boyson and have a lot of fun enjoying that. And I also use it as an excuse to kind of like learn something new and apply something new and try something new. And it was just a lot of fun learning. And I also wanted to learn how to model. And so, and building these things up, I have a bit of a journey in here. So some of the process and stuff. So, but I wanted to get better at like learning Fusion 360. And instead of just watching tutorials and going like, okay, I watched this tutorial and it makes sense, and now I know how to do what that person did. That's like basically the first step. The next step is like, okay, now how can I apply it to something that I want to do? So I was thinking, I really would like to make a spaceship. So I'll go in and I'll start to build out like bits and panels, and I would look at like old models from ILM or Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, and I'd look at how those little details and those kit bash models and stuff, how those look and how they all come together. And so I would think, all right, so now I have all that information. Now I'm going to go and start building it, constructing it based off of a design. And then, going into Cinema 4D and like forming things and finding all these like weird problems that I was hitting when I was going through and building them out. Through the whole journey, I'm constantly hitting walls creatively, but then I try to manifest and get past them and think beyond them. It becomes quite complex and really interesting and very bespoke and difficult to handle, and for me to explain uniquely. But what I'm saying here is it's not about just learning the thing, it's about applying what you're learning, and that's the key. And so I was applying making shaders. So why don't I just make a shader of something that's quite simple? What is a sphere? Okay, and then let's make it Mars. So now it has a good presence. It looks great. And so I was starting to think beyond just like generating simple things, or actually ripping people off and watching their tutorials and cheating basically, and like just making the same thing, which I see a lot happening too. It's just kind of pitiful. People shouldn't necessarily do that. They should go off and make their own thing. So I think the key is to find something that you can use to help propel your ability, So if when I look at Nun, for example, like Nun has a style because at this point, I didn't necessarily care or want to make UVs and texture things real. So the style comes from the lack of ability to basically create photoreal imagery, but at the same time, it's fine for me because I didn't really care. I was trying to create personally, I'm speaking for myself, not for Chris, because this is another project Chris and I created together very quickly. 3 weeks, I think we made this thing, but it was more or less just trying to create a mood and a tone and a sensation, basically. So, but yeah, so I think that's really the key. I think the key is finding something that you love and learning, and through the process of learning, all these things will then go off and help out. And I can't wait to share all these things that I'm doing now. It's like even Mache is like, dude, you're now a concept artist. And so it's like, there's all these new things that I'm learning and applying. And I'm not just necessarily doing design and UI and that kind of stuff. I'm doing so much more. So, and I'm hoping the same thing for you guys too. It's like applying those next steps or skills and stuff that you're learning from us and stuff. And you're, upping your game or getting better at whatever it is that you're trying to do. So, but yeah, epic questions today. Thank you, Joe, for taking it and ushering us through all these awesome questions. And just be here next time, guys. We've been doing a lot of solo streams. Let us know what you guys think. Do you guys like it if I'm just here with you guys, or do you want me to keep bringing guests on? Or do you want it to be a nice balance between the two? Because I don't mind coming on here and just sharing everything I know, and even repeating what I have said before to you guys if it helps. If it helps one of you out, that's what this is for. That's the point of this. So let us know if this is like what you guys like, and this is something that you're really stoked on, and it excites you, and this is helping. Then let us know. So yeah. All right.
There's one question which is Mr. Pepper. It's just a yes no answer, I guess. Ash, would you ever be open to sharing your portfolio that you got hired on Prolog?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I still have it. I think I probably have some of the original work from there. That's totally fine. I don't know where it is. I'll have to find it. But if I
Yeah,
do have it, for sure, I'd love to share that with you guys because it's like old work, you know, and at the same time, it'll give you guys a good perspective as to where I was and where I've gone and where I'm going, you know. So, yeah, for sure. Why not?
I remind you next time on that.
Yeah, please just remind me. And if you can remind me prior to, I think you might
Yeah,
have my email, but if you can just be like, oh, we're going to do a solo stream. Okay. And then, because I have so much
yeah,
stuff going on, if I don't remember to do it, it'll take me a couple minutes to find it. And once I do, then I can share that with you guys, and we can do a stream on just that and talk about, like, you know, the steps that I took, because maybe there's a lot of you that are in that same position and you're trying to level up and get that next job or whatever. So, yeah, cool. All right,
yeah.
guys. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for being here. Awesome stream today. No drawing, but a lot of talking and a lot of really interesting things. So hopefully this stuff kind of helps one of you guys out and helps you guys, you know, figure out. And I apologize. My handwriting is really quite atrocious, but oh well. Maybe I'll use MindNote next time. Maybe that'll be better. So it's a lot cleaner. So, but yeah, hopefully this works for you guys, and I'm wishing you guys all the best. And Mache is going to be on a stream tomorrow. And again, too, if you have an Amazon Prime account, I think like you can subscribe to this stream for free. So if you don't subscribe and you're tired of having to wait a couple weeks to watch it on YouTube, if in case you missed it, you can always use that Prime account, I think, to have a subscription to it. So yeah, so check that out. I think that's it's an awesome resource too, and we're here to share and answer your questions if you guys have them. Mache will be on tomorrow. I can't remember who his guest is, but I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. So make sure you guys tune
People,
in.
I think.
Oh, it's Beeple. Oh yeah, we're doing that freaking crazy. I'll be there actually tomorrow too, so I forgot I was gonna be there for that. So I will see you guys tomorrow for the Beeple thing too. So yeah, we're gonna be celebrating Beeple's 10 years of doing everydays, and so it's gonna be a lot of fun. It'll be a big stream. Tons of people will be there. So yeah, come along, ask questions, and prepare your ears for a bunch of cursing and obscenities. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, cool. All right, guys. Well, I'll see you again, and thank you again, Joe. And yeah,
Sure.
we'll see you guys on the next stream. Peace. See you guys tomorrow.